science knowledge only adds to the excitement, the mystery, and the awe of a flower.
Evidence is evidence. It's public. Everybody can look at the evidence and assess it, and eventually, if there's enough evidence, come to the same conclusion.
Cockatoos with attitude. Cockatoo. Hello and welcome to Cockatoo. Cockatoos with attitude. Today, our subject is Cecil. Cecil came to us with eyes that look like a doll, or a shark's eyes, that kind of dead look. He also had, no one had preened his head, so he had pin feathers sticking out, kind of like that monster in the horror movies, Pinhead. And he, when you would look at him, there just wasn't any life. It was as if he'd been taxidermied. There was almost no motion. He would just sit and stare. And physically, he was a little underweight. His feathers didn't look good. They had kind of that cast that feathers get if a bird hasn't been fed properly. And the story we got with Cecil was that the people who had him at the time we received him, they brought him down from Bakersfield. So this was a long trip. And the story we had was that he was raised to be a breeder bird. They thought he was a female. They had him in a cage with another male, and he wouldn't breed. Yeah, I don't think that's his thing. He's quite the ladies' dude now. It is difficult to keep him away from the other birds, the other females. I love you too, Roman. Hi, Roman. This is Roman up here. Peach is down there. And also in the room, we have Sugar, Lorelei, and Sal. So we brought him to the sanctuary, and the first thing I noticed is that it took a lot to get his attention. And when you got his attention, there wasn't a heck of a lot in there. There wasn't, was there? In order to elicit a response, you had to do something dramatic. And sometimes that elicited, it would actually cause a bite. He would actually bite you if you got his attention. He didn't seem to react too much. He was not too interested in the food that I provided. What we do is we provide a mash for the birds every morning, and they get dry food throughout the day. Probably better if we didn't give it during the day, but you never know how long you're going to live. And if something happens, we want to make sure they have enough food in that eventuality. Nobody lives forever, do they, Cecil? Hello, cutie pie. Roman, like Cecil, was labeled an aggressive bird. And people didn't want to hold Roman for that reason, and people didn't want to hold Cecil for that reason. Although, actually, when you looked at Cecil, you would think he wasn't even there, so I'm not sure what you were contacting. But as I began to work with him, and over time, trying to engage him in things, offering him toys, talking to him every day really sweetly, and trying to get some attention, eventually his eyes started to focus. He'd actually look at me like he is now. Working with him, offering him toys, sitting and talking to him, holding him, attempting to get his attention, eventually started to pay off. He didn't receive any psychotherapeutic drugs. He didn't show any evidence of feather destructive behavior. He probably could have used something, Paxil maybe, or something along that line to have broken him out of that trance-like state he was in. But at the time, I wasn't too keen on using those and not too familiar with them. So what I did was I would just sit him on my hand and talk to him. And occasionally when I'd get up, if I moved too quickly, he would bite me. And let me tell you, I don't think he knew what he was biting, because one time he crushed the palm of my hand, the heel of my hand here, so hard I could hear cartilage inside cracking. And at that point, most people would have gotten rid of him. But he wasn't even there to get rid of. I mean, his personality was so buried, wasn't it? Wasn't it? Did you have a buried personality? I'm going to break for a moment. He's got a little song he likes, and it comes from Popeye the Sailor Man, but he's Cecil the Cockatoo. Hello. He's Cecil the Cockatoo. Hello. He's strung to the finish 'cause he eats his spinach. He's Cecil the Cockatoo. You're a sweet bird. Yeah, there's a thing too. When people say, I just had somebody email us and say they were looking for a sweet umbrella. There is no such thing. There are wild animals that have a certain set of behaviors, and they work within a certain set of those natural wild behaviors. So if you're looking for a bird that you call sweet, you're looking for the wrong thing. That species hasn't been discovered yet, so he is attentive. He'll get up and hug you. He'll talk to you. He does a lot of these things, but he also has the natural responses to. You just want to be petted so bad. You're getting a little rougher with that beak, aren't you? Yeah, I just want to be petted. Right, Rome? Is that what you want? So, if you move too fast, he'll tend to jerk a little bit. He just flinched. So he knows me way too well. If you were to do something like that with your hand, he would pull back quickly because he doesn't know you. I received quite a few bites from him because he had not matured to the point where he was actually looking at the world out through those eyes. And I think he received more like ghost images. We'll never know. I can't get inside a bird's mind, and no one can, but it was almost like you had to break a certain threshold to get through. And when you did, his reactions were violent. It wasn't that he was trying to be violent, but that was his method of dealing with things just jumping into his environment. Again, I think of it more like cat's eyes. The research that's been done has shown that with a cat's eye, they'll sit and stare and they don't see anything. It's all blanked out from what we think we know scientifically. But the second something moves, it jumps into their field of vision and they go for it. That's how they catch their prey animals. What do you want? Do you want to go over here? You just want to hold my finger? Okay. You could do that. So he was acting like that. He was acting like a bird that all of a sudden saw something that hadn't been there. Like the poem by Rainer Maria Rilke, Der Panther. Yeah, that's right. That's a Cecil bird. It's a Cecil bird. Now, if you notice, Cecil he's looking you right in the eyes. He does that now, where before when I got him, you couldn't get, binocular stereoscopic vision out of his eyes if your life depended on it. But in that poem by Rilke, which on YouTube there actually is a video of that, where Jürgen Prochnow actually reads this in English, but there's a scene in the poem, which is a short poem, but there's a scene in the poem where the panther is walking back and forth behind these bars. And it seems to the panther that there are 1,000 bars and that he just keeps pacing by those bars. But every once in a while, he stops, looks out, seems to see a world out there, and then he's back to pacing the bars. And that's kind of where he was. I think most birds come to rescues as functionally autistic. They've been raised by humans rather than their own parents, which research has shown that's the wrong way to do it. There was research done up in Northern California. I believe it was UC Davis, but I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up. You can find that out in the manual for parrot behavior by Lucier. There's a section on that. But what they did there was they let the parents raise the birds in an aviary situation, but they handled each of the birds for 20 minutes a day. What they found was that birds handled this way, just 20 minutes a day, were actually not having any issues with humans, and they were actually able to raise their own young, to form mate bonds, where in most breeders will take their breeder pairs and put them separate, and as soon as the egg is produced, they take it from the birds and they put it in an incubator. If they don't do this, the birds will usually break their eggs, or even if they were to hatch, they would kill their babies. In my mind, and this is just my way of looking at it, if you knew that your children were going to be slaves and kept in a small room for the rest of their lives, possibly passed on from one slave owner to another, you probably would not want your children to live either. I don't know that that's what's going on. I think it's just simply, that's how I think of it, but scientifically speaking, it looks just that they don't know how. About 95% of what a parrot or cockatoo knows is what it has been taught. It's not innate. There are some innate behaviors, the screaming when the sun rises, the screaming when the sun sets. Since they don't see in the dark, I can see why you might want to scream just before the sun went down. And when the light hits your eyes, it's a pretty sudden way of waking up your consciousness when you have been disconnected from the world for 12 hours. So he didn't exhibit any of what you're seeing right now, which is being interested, aware. The next step after I got it to where he was actually paying attention was to get him to play with toys. That is a mixed blessing because of his intense nature, because of that effect, like walking by those bars and seeing out just on occasion. He would start playing with a toy and then get a hold of you in the process, and he would bite hard. So there were many times where he drove me literally to my knees, but he wasn't aware of what he was doing, I'm sure of it. You certainly wouldn't do that today, would you? No, you wouldn't do it today. And I don't have any pictures of him from that time frame, so I have no way to show you what he was like. As time went on, I worked with him for a few minutes at a time while he had a toy, and it was pretty intense. I've got some video of him running around with a toy now, and it looks pretty scary, but he might hit you with it, whack you with it a couple of times, but he's not really going to hurt you with it. He used to actually bite your hand or some other part of your body. He would bite you with the toy in his beak, and it was his way of playing. You have to go? Or are you just playing around? If you have to go, go ahead. Want to go over here? I thought so. Okay, come on back. We have things on the floor to catch that, so they can go and they have their spots. They definitely don't like to go on you. Most birds will train themselves if you don't train them, right, Cecil? Yeah. Can you say hello? Cecil, say hello. 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 Gonna play with the toy. So, handing him a toy now to show you what he does with toys. This is just a simple toy with actually it's something we string wood on for them to play with, but just to kind of show you what he does. Now he'll start slapping this toy around, and if you get in the way of it, you could get whacked with the toy, but he doesn't put the toy in his beak anymore. And then he'll take a small toy, put it in his beak, and clamp down on you. One of the things he does that's pretty amazing, though, is he'll make his own toys. He'll take a piece of rope or a piece of leather, and he will stick it inside of a bead. He'll fold it up so it fits inside tightly. Then he'll put some other little things on that piece of string or leather and put another bead on the other side. And then he's made his own toy. Right? Is that what you do? It is? Okay. So with him, the only physical issue that he has now is that he gets bored easy now that he's aware. And he has, although he doesn't actually tear out his feathers, he kind of nibbles on the outer feather a little bit. I'll show you. He nibbles just a little bit here. He doesn't break the feather. He just mats it together. So because it's such a minor behavior, and if you give him any haloperidol to try to slow that down, that sort of pulls out all the stops. It's as if all the bars of the cage in his mind disappear, and he is a predator, not a prey animal, right in front of you. Although he's not acting predatory, he simply doesn't stop. So you could get bit pretty hard if you gave him a drug like that. We would if we had to, but we don't. With him, what I've been able to do is to just take and spray him a couple of times a day with water on those two feathers that he actually mats them down a little bit. And that seems to do it. You'll see in there are a number of products that say that you can spray them on the bird and that will stop them from picking their feathers. It's just the water in those products that's doing it. I don't know of any product that actually works for that other than a psychotherapeutic drug. So don't waste your money on something that says that you spray it on the bird and they'll stop plucking. There he goes. Now see, he gets pretty wild with a toy. Don't you, Cecil? He'll be swinging that thing from side to side and whacking you with the chain a little bit. And he's just playing. When I dealt with him before, early on, and he would do this, if the beak got too close to any part of my body, then I usually got bit. But understanding, it's all right, Peaches, that was just a chain. It's okay. It's okay, Peach. Aw, Peaches, it's all right, sweetie. Look, it's okay. Let me get you some more of your toys over there, okay? You got some toys now? You okay? Good girl. Good girl. See, he didn't mean to do that to her. I mean, he's just flipping the toy around. So the hardest thing with him was just bringing him back to where there was a bird to deal with. And to a greater or lesser extent, every bird I have here has some of that issue. He was the worst I've ever seen as far as being nearly out of this world, oblivious to his surroundings. The next would have been Sugar. But if you work with them and you take your time, you play with toys with them, you talk to them, you handle them. If you get bit, you don't overreact. If it's a bad bite, you put them, you talk to them sweetly, put them back in their cage, and wait until they calm down. It's usually a minute or two. When they're calm again, take them right back out. It's like the old, if you fall off the horse, you get right back up on the horse. Well, instead of, hi, baby. Instead of that being an issue for you so that you'll be able to handle another bite, you're just letting them know that you don't feel that they did that because they were attacking you. And Cecil, you gonna play? You gonna play? You play. Now he's another kind of a playboy too, and I have to keep a close watch on him around females. If you take your attention off of him, And there's a female, like Lorelei's in here, and Sugar. So if there's a female around, he'll sneak over to that female and try to mate with her. We catch him always in the foreplay situation. He never actually gets to mate with them, but he's good at sneaking off. So playing, talking to him, teaching him different behaviors like holding his wings out for veterinary exam, being able to go on his back. That was fun. You take a bird that has issues that appear to be aggression, and you take them and flip them over on their back. Well, you do that slowly, but they have to be able to do it. You have to be able to say, the bird has a problem with its cloaca. You have to be able to flip the bird over and show the vet. The bird has to be able to be handled. And Cecil had to be handled by vets, at least once a year, sometimes 2 or 3 times a year. So it's important to teach them that behavior. The behavior of opening their beak for you so you can look down inside their throat so you don't have to put something to spread their beak open, which frightens them. I mean, come on, if I were to pry open your mouth and you didn't have any idea who I was, that'd be pretty scary. So you teach them to do that, and you teach them to be able to present their feet and not have a problem with their feet being handled. You have to be able to touch a bird all over. And not that you want to do this on a regular basis, but you want to just show them that, get them where you can look at the wings, inspect the wings, where you can take a bird and flip them over so that you can check out their cloaca. All those things need to be done. You need to be able to touch a bird just to make sure that there's no lumps on their body. You have to be able to examine them closely. Even with a toy, boy, there's a day I wouldn't have done this. There's a day where I would not have put my face right up to Cecil when he was holding a toy. Isn't that right? Isn't that right, big boy? Cecil! You want to do a Cecil thing? Cecil bird! That's a Cecil. There he goes. Cecil! Good boy. Here's your toy back. Want the toy? Want a different toy? Here. Want this one? Nope. Yes? No? You gonna throw it? So he's doing pretty well. Health-wise, he shows no issues. Other than this little thing, you have to watch this outermost feather and spray it with water a couple of times a day. Make sure he has enough toys. And this one he gets bored with the same type of toys. You have to get creative. You have to find different things. We make toys here, but I have to vary them quite a bit. Right now he's bored with a standard toy, which is basically a chain with wood and different toy parts on it and string with little pieces of plastic attached to it, beads and that kind of thing. He's totally bored with that. So I'm having to cut special pieces of wood and find things that aren't toys, and he won't touch one of these little just chewy blocks that I have back here with no holes in them. And I won't say, as soon as I say he won't touch them, he will, of course, but he does like the palm fronds right now, the ones that are woven together. He's been chewing on those, but if he gets bored, then he'll start this behavior. And that's typical with these guys. I mean, they're meant to be flying, they're built to be flying out in huge flocks of other birds, and here they are stuck with a human and a few other birds of their species. And you can't expect them to behave normally in that situation. They're definitely going to get bored. And now that he is about 100% right here all the time, and he wants something to do, don't you? Don't you, Cecil? So his prognosis is good if he gets plenty of attention and he's kept away from the females. If he actually mates to a female, it probably wouldn't be a good scene for a human. If he were to become mated to a female, I honestly don't think he would be able to deal with humans much more. I think he'd kind of go into that bond and there wouldn't be anything else there. It's hard to say, but knowing his temperament, he probably would be more like a standard breeder bird. And that would be a terribly bad thing. Because most breeder birds are confined to cages, away from everyone else, and they're simply there to help someone make money by producing babies. And you wouldn't see any of these fascinating behaviors. Right now, he's probably going to take this apart. And in our world, just being a breeder to produce more babies to be kept in captivity by 10, 20 different owners over, if they're lucky, a normal lifespan of 80 years, it's not much of a life. And I hope with many others that this breeding of these animals in captivity stops. We certainly wouldn't want people to be breeding raccoons and keeping them in their homes. And these guys are actually just as wild as a raccoon. I mean, you can tame a raccoon too, but that doesn't mean you take the wild out of them. It's much easier to tame a mammal than it is to tame an avian. These guys are actually the descendants of theropod dinosaurs and listed as dinosaurs today. And you can get them tame. And you can get them like Cecil is. And he's tame, he's playful, he's aware, he's right here for us. But at what cost? In the wild, he would be flying with a flock of hundreds of birds. He would be having a family of his own. He would be exploring the world every day, playing and enjoying, and he wouldn't be spending 4 or 5 hours in a cage a day. That's just a horrible way to live. I wouldn't want to live that way. I can't imagine anybody who would. If you'd like to live in a cage, I suppose we could arrange that for you. But I don't think that this is where they belong. And certainly seeing the number of birds that we've seen here that have come to us with functional autism, living behind those bars in their minds, like Cecil was, to some extent, it's my hope that we can stop the insanity of breeding these guys. And there's enough of them around right now. If you want to have one, there's a rescue you can work with. But you'll need to know reward training, specifically applied behavior analysis to work with them. If you think that you can get a bird and just somehow luckily make it fit into your home, it might happen for a time that it works out. But if you don't understand the species, you're going to do something at some point, or something's going to trigger a behavior you're not going to understand. And because of the way we see things as mammals, and the way they see things as the descendants of dinosaurs, you're going to mistake what you think is one particular behavior for something totally different. And that's how most of these birds move from one home to another. And from what we know of the stories we were told, he's only seen 3 homes. He was with the breeders who had him with a male, and or so the story we were told goes. He was with the breeders, and then someone took him away from them, saying that basically telling them that he felt that this bird was being abused. Then someone came along and said, that bird, she needs more time. At the time, of course, they thought she was a she. She needs more time out. And you can tell she's not healthy, so they took her. So they took Cecil, and they tried to do what they could, but obviously they didn't know much because they didn't even preen his head, and he had little spikes. They were afraid to touch him. Oh, Now, did you see that? What he did was he spun his head around and he opened his beak. And it looked like he was going to bite. He was just shocked. He wasn't expecting my hand there. I was trying to show you that earlier, and I couldn't show it because he knew it was me, and he really didn't care if I moved my hand quickly towards his face. When I blindsided him, things were different. And that was unintentional. I just went to put my hand over his head. So, where are you going? What are you doing? You want to go play? Well, we're almost done, so you can go play. So, when eventually I die, or this, if something happens and the sanctuary were to fold, and he moves on, it all depends on whether somebody can truly pay attention to him and give him what he needs, which is a lot of toys, at least 3 or 4 hours out of the cage a day, some personalized attention, right, baby? And he needs the MASH diet, which he likes to eat. As far as his eating, he likes to eat at night. And you put MASH in his cage, he'll nibble on it a little bit in the morning. But at night, he really eats it. So he has to have MASH at night. And then, which we have our MASH recipe online. It's Bob's MASH. That's what he's eating. The other thing is, you have to go again, sweetheart? Is that what you need to do? Okay. Okay, well, come on back. Come on back, you silly. Well, come on. You can sit with Dad a little more. You can sit with me a little more. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can sit with me just a little more. Yeah? Yeah? That's a good boy. But he is a good boy. He's going to need somebody that can fulfill those basic functions in his life and pay attention to him. Sing him his song or come up with something similar so that he knows that he's cared about. And if you can do all that, then he should be able to live his life out. Got to watch those feathers, the 2 feathers there. And if he were to start pulling more feathers, then you'd have to give him Haldol. But I wouldn't give him much more than 0.03 milliliters and slowly build up, because you're going to get bit, and he's not going to mean to do it. He just doesn't know how to stop. He learned all that. He learned how to stop, didn't you? Didn't you? You're a good boy. You're a good boy. Oh, the other thing in his diet that's important. Now, it's not controversial. We know that English walnuts can get, that fungus, that aflatoxin in them. And if you don't give him one of those a day, he goes completely nuts. He will not leave you alone. He goes to his dish, and he just has he gives you every indication that you better put one of those walnuts in his dish. So I'm hoping he doesn't catch something from that, but it's such a psychological downer to him, and he really needs to have that walnut in his dish in the morning. Right, boy? So, this is Cecil. Cecil the Cockatoo. And he's learning his first word now. He said it a couple of times. He said hello. Haven't you? You said hello. Say hello. Say hello. Now he's looking at me the way he does when he's paying attention to what I say. Hello. 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 Hello, sweetie. Hello, Cecil. Hello, Cecil. Hello, baby. Well, that's our show for today. And our next episode. Oh, hey, look who's here. Hi. That's Sal. What's happening, Sal? What's happening, big boy? Nah. Come It's not your show, but you can come up. What you doing? What have you been up to? Huh? What have you been up to? Well, are you having a good day? Are you having a good day? Are you? Yeah? Okay. That's what I wanted to make sure. You're having a good day. All right. You going down here? Looks like you do. That's our show. We'll see you next time. You can donate to us on a per episode basis at www.patreon.com. That is Patreon. Or you can do a one-time donation to help us with our work at www.chloesanctuary.org. That is CHLOE sanctuary.org. You can hear us on iTunes at the Cockatoo channel, and we are available at YouTube at the Chloe Sanctuary channel, which is youtube.com/Chloe Sanctuary. If you would like to leave us a message for possible airplay, please call 760-565-BIRD. That is 760-565-2374. Or you can leave us an email at info@chloesanctuary.org. Just be sure to put Cockatoo in the subject line. Please visit our website at www.chloesanctuary.org. That's Chloe spelled CHLOE. You can support us on a per episode basis by visiting www.patreon.com. That's Patreon /Chloe Sanctuary.